It is time we focus on a main character for once. You all know me. I'm more of a glub shadow type of guy. I like making the niche characters that appeared only a few times, if at all. And I made most of the main Thomas characters when I first started modeling a few years ago, and other characters eventually took priority. With time, I improved my craft, got more models, and my older ones started to show their age. One of these was my model of Henry. Henry was made originally from a Pickman Standard 5. This was my third or fourth model I've ever made, and it was just a simple repaint. And a poor one at that. Very poor that I repainted him less than a year after getting him. And Henry was in this repainted state for his old showcase video. And Henry remained in this condition for years. Just sitting in the back of my little facade for engines. Time passed and the collection grew. Eventually, I began disliking my Henry model more and more. My biggest issue with the model is that he looked too standard. I know that's considering that he was made from a standard 5, but to me, someone like Henry should not look like a fully just stock standard engine at all. He should have parts from all different stuff and look really weird, in a good way. So I tried seeing some fan designs to get some inspiration for what would eventually be a new Henry model. I eventually rediscovered this old edit by the Unlucky Tug for one of his Thomas Debunk shorts. He just photoshopped the Block 5 boiler and tender onto a B-17. And I liked the outline of it. Figured it would work really well. And figured I could try something similar with parts of my current Henry. And it just so happened that around this time, a B-17 body came up on eBay for a great deal. It was tender driven, but had no tender. But tender driven means that the body shell can be customized without having to worry about any motors. So that was a big plus. And I still had my old City of Bristol tender from my old Duchess model, which is motorized. And I quickly began work on what will become an objectively better model of Henry the Green Engine. While I waited for the new chassis to arrive, I took the Standard 5 apart and drowned the boiler and cab in isopropyl alcohol. After sitting for a few hours, I scrubbed them both with a plastic brush. It was around this time that the B-17 body arrived, and I did a fitting test. A perfect fit. Almost. I had to do a little bit of cutting on some parts for the cab, but otherwise everything was perfect in terms of length and proportions. Sadly, I couldn't use the Standard 5 cab, but I honestly liked the B-17 one more. I would have to modify the cab window to look more like Henry's cab, but not a big deal for me. The B-17 body shell was really great to work with. Nearly every part was separately fitted, so I can just disassemble everything very easily. The smoke box, the cab, the dome, a lot of pieces could come apart separately. Except for these splashers, which I had to cut off the boiler. And I don't have a little Dremel saw, so I had to use clippers and absolutely mangle the old boiler to get them off. And eventually I had to sand them down and get them smooth. I'm not 2 for 2 for absolutely destroying body shells. Eventually I got down the splashers to a good size and glued them on to the running board. This was pretty finicky, as you can imagine, especially with little half ones by the cab. The middle splashers have like a knob to hold the nameplate in. For some reason, these are hollow, so I had to keep them as they were. But it didn't bother me too much, I'll just paint them over again. However, it did mean that the boiler would not sit flush with the splashers in. So I had to do a little bit of cutting on the boiler. I just eyeballed this somewhat, and it didn't turn out perfect, but the nameplate does hide it. So, not too bad, I'd say. It was around this time I did a full test to see how the parts would look together, somewhat assembled. And I really liked it. And so I pressed forward. I did a little bit of sanding on the boiler to get rid of seam lines and imperfections, and then sprayed the body thinly with flat white primer. I did a little bit more sanding, and then primed it again very thinly. My old Henry model didn't have handrails, and I was able to make out the handrail holes in the body shell again, and so I used the B-17 handrails and knobs for this. So that worked out in the end. By this point, I also realized we better to use these pipe things. I don't know what they're called, but they go from the smoke box to the running board. The ones from the B-17 fit better, and the ones from the Extender 5 didn't reach. So I just cut them off the smoke box, again manualing it, and then gluing them in the paints. These side rods were also painted red around this time. They took some time to get right. The paint wouldn't stick or go on the way I wanted. So you see a few of the attempts I made throughout the remaining work in progress pics. After this, I returned my focus to the boiler and began brushing on the green. This is a custom acrylic mix I made years ago when I did my first repaint of Henry, meant to match his Season 5 shade of green, which is my personal favorite for the green engines. Tragically, I cannot remember the recipe to save my life, so I made sure to ration all I could in the bottle. And I was very careful how much I used, and I didn't put any of my little paint plate, I just took it from the brush out of the little cap. Yeah, I was really rationing this, as I want all my green engines to match, almost exact. After a few thin coats, I switched to black and red for the running board and pistons. Then I did the lining in red. I think it's my first time doing lining by hand in a while, so it was a little tricky to get right, but thankfully my green mixture is really thin now, so touch-ups were seamless. It was around this time that I tackled the nameplates. I painted the red for the splasher lighting first, let that dried, and then painted just the nameplate part black, making sure to leave a thin line for the red. And once that dried, I painted the outline of the nameplate in gold, and also the knob as well. Voila! A nameplate. I know it's blank, it doesn't have any lettering, but for now it's good enough for me. One day I might get custom plates, but for now this would be like this. I then did some catch-up work with a tender. I basically left it alone for most of the process, so I eventually did all the steps again for the tender, including the lettering and lining by hand. The tender shell is a bit large for Henry, I admit, but I do like the outline of it. Maybe I'll shave off the bottom a little bit to shorten it, or find a smaller shell for it, possibly. This model is tender driven, so the tender has to be motorized, and my old Duchess tender was all that I had. But for now, Henry got a big ass tender. Once all the painting was done, I brushed on matte finish Mod Podge for the clear coat. This is my new go-to clear coating after Rust-Oleum matte clears numerous attempts and failures. See my Astro Train video for that. After that, and a quick reassembly, Henry, the green engine, was complete once again. Henry turned out so well, in my opinion. He is easily one of my favorites in the collection. Top 3 for sure now. 3. You get it? I am really happy with him now. Now, are you all probably wondering, who is next on the workbench? Well, I don't have any new models in the works right now, and that will probably be the case for the foreseeable future. I am running out of space for model trains. This little facade of the sheds with a few rows of track, that is my entire setup. Just inches away from my laptop. I'm also trying to scale back my spending in hopes of eventually having enough to move into a place on my own someday. And eventually get a bigger layout. And more room for more trains, of course. So for now, models will be on the way in terms of new ones. However, that is not to say modeling has stopped altogether. I've just shifted my efforts on redoing my older models. Notably, Edward, Gordon, Molly, and just now Henry being complete. Edward needs some chassis repairs and a repaint. And Molly, oh god, I might just replace Molly's chassis or something. or just get a new model altogether, but I don't know. Her pickup wires are screwed over bad. But eventually, I hope to make them all better than they were before. In terms of who's next, well, I believe you'll also be seeing a certain galloping sausage next. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse Workbench, and I will see you all same time next week.
So green.